Hi. Hi, it's Vincent. I'm doing this video for Transgender Awareness Week. As you can probably tell, from this video, I'm trans. So I just wanted to share a bit of my story because I know I've spent a lot of time struggling in my life with figuring everything out, and so I kind of wanted to just make a video talking about my journey and self-discovery, and maybe it can help someone else. If you want to learn a little bit more about me, or you're interested in K-pop and also a little bit about my art and self-identity, I was in an MTV documentary and it just came out, so I will put the link in the description below. It's about, K-pop, BTS, all that kind of cool stuff. So now I will get back to the video. I will stop rambling, and here we go. Okay, so normally I think we would start out the video as this is, kind of my childhood and blah blah, but I want to start out by saying a message to my younger past self, to tiny kid Vincent, and to really anybody who's, struggled with coming to terms with their identity and stuff. That you don't have to have everything figured out as soon as you start questioning things, because that's what questioning is. We go through our life just questioning things, and so it's okay. And I also want to say that gender is a social construct. You can express yourself however you want, and it doesn't make you any less valid. If I'm a trans guy, I identify as a guy, and I want to wear a dress one day, that doesn't make me any less of a guy. And I know that if somebody had just told me that when I was younger and I started questioning things, I would have had a lot less of a toxic mindset, I guess, around transitioning and around gender expression and just gender in general. And I will get more into that later, but I just wanted to start out with that because it's really important to know that. Okay, now we will start from the very beginning. When I was a kid, I was adopted from China, and the idea of Chinese adoption is very gendered. That could be a whole separate video, but there is a disproportionate amount of girls that are put up for adoption in China than boys, because boys carry down family name and the money and blah blah blah, but separate video. But so that, looking back now, kind of bugs me a lot. Yeah, so I came from China, and I was adopted, so a lot of the people around me in my family, all the people around me in my family, white, and a lot of the people in my area, also white. So I was always called oh, she's such a cute little, she looks like a China doll. And I was always she's so pretty, she's how well behaved, and it was always being well behaved was always compared to femininity. That little girls were supposed to be well behaved and calm and quiet, and little boys were supposed to be loud and rambunctious, but you're not like those boys, you're so cute and feminine. And so that really, looking back on that, it makes me really uncomfortable to think about that. And I always felt, I guess, that a lot of the things that I started doing was performative. With being feminine, a lot of femininity was pushed onto me. This is the way that you're supposed to be, and this is the way that little girls are supposed to grow up. And, if I kind of started straying from that, I was consciously aware of it. I was consciously aware of always performing femininity, or always choosing the more feminine option, because I was aware that it was a feminine option opposed to a masculine one, or opposed to what boys are supposed to like. I remember one year for Christmas, I was into playing with dolls, but I really wanted this one action figure, but my parents were like, no, that's for boys. So I didn't get it, but I went to my friend's house who had it, and he let me play with it, and I had a bunch of fun. And we always play with swords and stuff. It was a ton of fun. I wish I could go back to that. But it always felt like I was conscious of the role that I had to play. And then, I'm sure I enjoyed some of the feminine stuff too, because again, this whole idea of feminine masculine is a social construct, doesn't really mean anything. So I'm sure I enjoyed, you know, playing with my dolls and wearing dresses and stuff, but there were definitely times where I didn't want to do that, and it almost felt like having thoughts that about not wanting to do that were like taboo or something, or like I shouldn't be thinking them. Moving on to like middle school, where I started being more conscious of performing heteronormativity, I started getting into like cosplay and anime, and I was like, I don't want to date these anime guys, I want to be these anime guys. So I started cosplaying, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed being like a male character, and I enjoyed playing like the male role. Then I started doing more research on some of the things that I started feeling, because I started to see things online that were talking about like the LGBTQ community, which back then it was more just like the LGB community, and sometimes people would tack on the T. This was like 2011, 2012 maybe. And unfortunately my research mainly came from Tumblr, which was a horrible place to get research because everything was so like gatekeepy almost, about different identities, and it had so much wrong information on it. So much. Like, I for years I thought being bisexual was only being attracted to cis men and women, and not anyone in between, not anyone outside, not anyone who is trans. I only thought it was cis men and women, and so that's messed up, which I know now that's not what being bisexual is, and I thought that being pansexual was the all-inclusive one of like non-cis people, and it's just, so that was very like misconstrued, and I kind of want to know where that came from. And like basically the premise of this kind of thought was that you can be, it was always in relativity to like hetero and cis normativity, so it was like you can be trans enough, or like if you dress in line with gender stereotypes, like if you are a trans man you have to wear, you know, pants, you have to buy only from the men's section, like you have to pass as a guy basically. If you don't pass, then you're not trans enough, then you're probably like, you're like gender fluid or something, or you're just straight up faking it, you're a transgender, which is such a messed up way to think. Calling people's gender identities as like, or the way that they'll like act or look, cringy. Like the whole cringe culture thing is just, it's horrible. It's bullying, and it doesn't do anything for the trans community, it doesn't do anything for the LGBTQ community, it doesn't do anything for us as like a whole community, society of people. So I bought into that shit, and unfortunately in high school I started watching Blair White, which made me buy into that shit even more, although I did differ in that I recognize the validity of people that don't fit into the gender binary, whereas she thinks that they're all like wrong and that doesn't exist, but I still believed in that, and I had friends that were like gender fluid, and for a while I was thinking I was kind of gender fluid. Basically, she also, watching her videos also got me thinking that being trans is a mental illness, and it was, up until very recently, classified as a mental illness that needed to be fixed. That wasn't like natural, that was a wrong way to be, so you needed a cure to it, and some people would be like, okay, the cure to that is transitioning, like a cure, but like the treatment for that, that's it. The treatment for that is transitioning, or some of my family believes I can become not trans anymore. So I bought into that stuff for years, like with Tumblr influence, with my like family influence, they're white, and I was majorly depressed, thinking that there was something, you know, inherently wrong with me, that, you know, I wasn't deserving of love, that I wasn't, this means I wasn't, that I should be like tossed out into the street, that I shouldn't be alive anymore. So it's stuff like that made my life hell, and so it's like not letting people explore their gender expression or their gender in general, and thinking that all this stuff just means that there's something wrong with you, that is incredibly damaging. And once I got to college and I met a bunch of people that didn't think I was crazy, a bunch of people that weren't alarmed when I told them that I was trans and I wanted to use like he, him pronouns, they were just like, oh, okay, cool, what should we call you? You know, stuff like that. It was just so casual. I started to feel so happy and so secure in myself. I still bought into a lot of that really stupid rhetoric that I had learned, but in my mind, I started questioning it more. Before, I just accepted it and it was like, yep, this is just it. But then when I met a bunch of people that did accept me, and I started taking classes that were about like critical theory, I was really like, I started to question what I was thinking and what good is it doing me to think this way? What good is it doing other people to think this way? Am I really happy? I wasn't ever happy to perform femininity, I found out, but does that make me any more happy to perform masculinity? Because it's all just a performance. Am I really happy sticking within like heteronormative ideas of gender expression? And I found the answer is no. I'm not happy doing that. So I started experimenting more with makeup, the way that I dressed, the way that I acted. I stopped really wanting to perform for people, I guess. But it's still hard. It's still hard to like undo all of the things that I had learned at first. And now, like, I mean, I don't buy into any of that shit anymore. And it is shit. It's bullshit. I don't buy into, like, the need to, like, gatekeep identities, or that some people are just special snowflakes or whatever. And I hate that I bought into the idea that, like, people who don't dress according to trans people that don't dress according to their gender is, like, that means they're faking it or whatever, they're not valid. I didn't believe in neopronouns until somebody explained it to me, that making fun of neopronouns was actually extremely ableist. But like as I started getting more, I guess, open with myself, and more accepting of myself, I could then start to accept like other people and truly really wanting to question my old beliefs and question the things around me that aren't serving me, aren't doing me any good or doing anybody else any good. I really started to question those once I got to a point where I could feel like I was sure of myself. So a lot of it came from my own insecurity, which, I mean, you know, my insecurities are still, you know, valid. You can still feel insecure, but I had to start questioning why I felt insecure. It's hard to do that, but in the end, my mind was like opened up, and I was so much more receptive to listening to other people, to listening to other people's perspectives and experiences. And that's like what you need to do. Constantly question and just listen to other people who are going through different things. Like, there is not just one trans experience that centers around dysphoria and hating yourself and like other people hating you. Like, that's not the only trans experience out there. There's a multitude of them, and it's horrible to try and invalidate others because this whole world is set up to just run over us and not give a shit. And so, like, why should we spend the energy trying to bring each other down within the community when there are larger things to fight out there that are bringing all of us down? And it's intersectional. It's LGBTQ issues, it's racism, it's classism, it's sexism, ableism, it's everything tied in together that you can't, like, discount. You can't throw one aside and say that you're being all-inclusive. Like, it's everything that we have to focus on. And I'm not saying that I love myself now, like, entirely, because there are definitely days where I don't quite feel that. And no one's saying that you always have to, you're doing something wrong, you're living your life wrong if you're not loving yourself, like, right now. But why not just, like, start to make those movements to do that, I guess, is what I've really been thinking in the past year. Like, I could wait until later, I could wait until I'm transitioned to start trying to accept myself. Sure, I could do that, but why not start doing that now? Because, I mean, it's not like I'm gonna be any more lovable or any more valuable once I transition. That's the deal with my name too. Like, Vincent, I only started using that December of 2019, that name, despite the fact that I picked it in like 2016, 2015, because I didn't think I was worthy enough. And last year I just broke and I was like, why am I waiting to be worthy? I'm worthy to use that name right now. And here we are now, and I'm constantly learning about myself and constantly still struggling. I'm still struggling with my gender identity. I'm trans, but also I don't feel completely like a man, but I don't identify with like feminine terms. It's kind of a mess. We're kind of a mess, but I still identify as a trans man, trans male, trans masc, whatevs. I don't know, it's healthy to always question yourself. And not in like an accusatory sense, like trying to make yourself feel bad, like on purpose, but just a healthy questioning, like, what do I think about this? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? So yeah, that's where I'm at now. I really just wanted to make this video as like a bit of an overview of where I've been settling with my gender throughout the years, and maybe somebody else can relate. And I'm always here if people want to ask me questions. This is a part 1 because I realized I talked a lot here, and so I'm going to be making a part 2, which will probably be up within like a day or so, about the questions that I had people ask me on Curious Cat. Yeah, because I really want to go into depth with them as well, and I don't want this video to get too long. So thank you for watching the whole thing. Yeah, follow if you want some more updates about my life. I'm gonna try to post more artwork because now I have a real camera. This is the first video I'm filming on a real camera instead of my laptop camera, and so follow if you wanna see more about my art and about my life and being trans and K-pop and all that good stuff, and check out the MTV video that I was in. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.